Hearing board to order. Before we begin, we need to identify and swear in a translator so that she can be qualified to do her work. Your name
Sonia Schwanowitz,
and your address, please.
50 Lowell Drive, Exeter, PA 19606.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will make an accurate, complete, and impartial interpretation from the English language into Spanish and vice versa of all communication during this proceeding using your best skill, judgment, and ability, and that you will abide by the rules of professional conduct for judiciary interpreters, and so do you swear or affirm?
I do.
Thank you. Okay.
What we'll do here is, in a moment, we're gonna, remember this hearing was previously opened. So I'll let the chairman explain that, and then we'll go on record with the fact that Bob's by telephone.
Okay. Today's hearing is a continuation of a meeting that was held briefly on April 2nd, 2024. We had to continue because of the absence of our inability to have a translator present. So today we are here to hear the application of Edwin Cortez Ortiz, who is the owner of a property located at 5 Vista Road, identified as tax parcel ID number, you can get that. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 622.3 to permit a barber shop to operate as a home occupation at the property, and a variance from section 622.3.m to allow less than one off-street parking space for each 150 square feet of floor area dedicated to the home occupation. Zoning issues. The property is located in the R1A low density residential zoning district. The property is approximately 0.27 acres and is currently developed with 2,400 square feet dwelling and an off-street parking area with unspecified dimensions. Mr. Ortiz is proposing to use the garage attached to his home as a space to operate a business called Java's Barbershop. Barbershop will operate from approximately 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., offering barbering and hairstyling services to men by appointment only. Only one client will be served at a time. Mr. Ortiz is the only employee of Javi's Barbershop, and the primary use of the property will remain residential. A barbershop is a Class 3 home occupation. Section 622.3 states that the Class 3 home occupations are only permitted by special exception in the R2, R21A, R2, R3, and R3A zoning districts. The subject property is in the R1A low-density residential zoning district. So the applicant is requesting a variance of section 622.3 to allow a Class 3 home occupation in the R1A zoning district. Section 622.3M requires one off-street parking space to be provided for each 150 square feet of floor area devoted to the home occupation use. Parking area is not sufficient to satisfy this requirement, so the applicant is requesting a variance of section 622.3.m. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce the people for the borough at this side of the table: Michelle, borough manager, and many other titles. And Anderson Deutschman is zoning officer for commercial properties in the borough. In the telephone is Robert Ullman, who is a member of the zoning hearing board. Najla Batish is a member of the zoning hearing board. Our counsel is Dan Becker, and I'm David Rothmal. I'm the chairman of the zoning hearing board. Mr. Becker is going to explain our procedures for today.
Thank you, Mr. Rothman. So today, the burden of proof is upon the applicant to be able to establish the relief that's being requested. So you have the right to bring to the, and I see you represented by counsel. We have Leah Rotenberg here, who's going to be representing you today. But it's your burden to prove that the relief that you requested, the variances that you requested, should be granted. You can do that by presenting testimony, and you can do that by presenting exhibits. I'm sure Ms. Rotenberg has already talked to you about that, and we'll allow her to present the case by presenting the testimony and exhibits as may be necessary. You can call different witnesses, you can testify yourself, you can call other witnesses if you care to do so. As your witnesses are testifying, the board members and/or I will have the opportunity to ask questions. I will note for the record, I see at least 4 members of the public that are out here this afternoon, and they may also ask questions as we're proceeding through the process. After all of your evidence has been presented, we will ask the members of the audience if they have evidence that they'd like to present, or if they just want to make a statement. We'll be talking to them in a few moments to try to get some clarification on that as we proceed. After all the testimony has been presented, all the exhibits have been entered, the board will go into an executive session to deliberate. We typically will render an oral decision the same day as the hearing, but we have 45 days in which to do that. You understand your rights today? So you have to say yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Remember that this hearing is being transcribed, so it's important to speak slowly to make sure that everything's being taken down on the record. And we want to make sure you understand what's going on. If your translator, if you have any questions, please make sure that you stop and ask the translator to make sure she's trying to clarify, so we can make sure that there's no misunderstandings about what we're asking. Do you understand that?
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. All right. I will note for the record that I see that there are 4 members of the public out here this afternoon. So the way the hearing works for you folks, if you would like to have standing in which you can then file appeals if you don't like the outcome of the decision, you can do that. You have to let us know, and then the attorney, Ms. Rotenberg, and I will have the opportunity to ask you questions about whether you're an aggrieved party, whether you have an adverse, direct and immediate substantial interest in the transaction. If you're just here to listen and you just want to make a statement that the board will consider, then we don't have to go through the standing part of that analysis, and we'll give you the opportunity at the end of the hearing to make those statements. So at the moment, we'll just go around and I'm going to ask each of the 3 of you, or the 4 of you, to let me know your names and your addresses and whether you're interested in standing or just making a statement at the end.
I'm not here for this matter. Do I still have to make a?
Are you, so just for the record, what's your name?
My name is Aurora, A-U-R-O-R-A.
I'm sorry, could you give it to me again?
Sure, A-U-R-O-R-A, last name C-A-R-D, is in David, I.
And what's your address, Ms. Garden?
1910 Squire Court, Wyomissing.
So if you're not here for this hearing, can you tell me why you're here?
I was told that there was a matter for Valley Green Village.
I'm sorry, for
Valley Green Village.
Okay, so no, I think you're at the wrong place. This is not a hearing for anything with Valley Green Village today.
Oh,
You're more than welcome to stay and listen. However, if you're not interested in this particular matter, you have now's a great time. You can.
do you have an idea where the Valley Green Village meeting is, or is it not today? Or I was sent an email about it.
From who did the email come from?
It came from me, it was
Oh.
sent out by the,
Property
The
property
association.
manager.
And what was that meeting about?
We have been hearing rumors about the property in front of Valley Green Village, where the Berkshire Family Restaurant is going to come or do something, and we have not been informed and just I am coming as president of the HOA to listen to zoning and find out what's going on locally.
Okay, so this is not anything to do with, I'm looking at the zoning officer, Michelle, and actually, I'm not sure, the manager, Michelle, and that's not anything to do with this, and I don't know anything further about that particular issue.
So your best bet would be to come to the Wyomissing Planning Commission meeting. There will not be specific discussion about that project, but there will be discussion regarding a zoning overlay that there's
Okay,
potentially.
and when is that?
May 6th at 3:30 PM.
And here as well?
Yes,
Okay, 3.
I'm sorry, what was it,
May 6th.
6th?
That agenda will be posted on the borough's website next Monday at the latest.
Okay, it's my fault. I did not realize there was a difference between zoning and planning. This is all new to the residents of Valley Green Village, and you're looking at a former kindergarten teacher who decides to look into everything and find out what's going on.
That's fine, we understand, but thank you for attending. There's, at this point, if you'd like to, you certainly may be excused if you want to.
No.
Can you, ma'am, can you give me your name?
Patricia Way, W-A-Y, 115 Valley Green Circle, Wyomissing, president of the Valley Green Village HOA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Maybe, yes.
Ma'am?
Sure, it's Sherry A. Walker.
Sherry,
I'm sorry,
thank you.
Sherry A. Walker, S-H-E-R-R-Y, A, middle initial, Walker. I'm at 3 Vista Road, Wyomissing.
W-A-L-K-E-R.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Walker, are you here to, do you wish standing, or are you just here to make a statement at the end of the hearing to explain what your thoughts are and position about the particular hearing before us today?
I'm not sure where it lies. If it's an actual, I have a question, just like a question, and like I have like 2 questions.
Okay, so we'll give you the opportunity to ask questions if you care to do so during the process when the testimony begins.
Okay, that's fine.
And at that point, if you're just here to ask, if you're here just to make a statement at the end, that's perfectly fine too, that we don't have to go through the standing routine. You have the
I think I
opportunity.
have a question.
Okay, so we'll let you do that at the appropriate time.
Okay, all right, thank
All
you.
right. Ms. Rodenberg, are you fine with that way we're proceeding?
That's fine.
Okay. I believe that we've now gone through all the procedural requirements to move forward. So, Mr. Chairman, I turn it back over to you. If there's anything further you'd like to do, or we can just turn it over to Ms. Rodenberg.
Before we do, let's have our witnesses sworn and our people sworn as well.
So who are you going to be using as witnesses?
So I will have Edwin Castro Ortiz, who's to my right, who's the owner of the barber shop, and his wife Sheila Cortez, who's to my left.
Sorry, what was her first name?
Sheila?
Sheila.
And Michelle and Anderson.
Okay, so if you all will face the chairman, raise your right hands. He will administer the oath.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay. All right. Now, we can turn it over to Ms. Rodenberg and she can begin.
Oh, thank you. Should people typically give opening statements, or just go with it?
It's up to you. I don't think it's necessary. I think we understand, but however, if you feel compelled to do so, you're more than welcome to do so.
Okay, well, we'll just go straight into testimony, and I'm gonna call Mr. Castro Ortiz as my first witness. I guess he's been sworn, so I guess I need to swear. Okay. So, Mr. Castro Ortiz, where do you live?
En las 5 Vista, las 5
5 Vista
Road,
Road,
en el Wyomissing, Wyomissing.
in Wyomissing.
And how long do you live there?
About 4 or 5 years.
And who else lives there with you?
My wife and 2 children.
And how old are your children?
One is 14 and the other 11.
And are they students in Wyomissing schools?
Yes.
And what do you do for a living, sir?
Todo bien, no había de trabajo y
is, well, it's, you know, I work and home.
What's your job? What's your profession?
Mi trabajo es ser barbero.
My job is as a barber.
And how long have you been cutting hair?
Hace 20 años.
It's been 20 years.
And what was the last salon that you worked in?
En la última barbería que trabajé fue en la norte, la front.
The last barber shop that I worked at was on North Front.
And is that shop still open?
No sé, no. Eso va mucho tiempo.
No, I don't know, that was a while ago.
And you are here today because you want to be able to cut hair within a home, within the building at 5 Vista Road, right?
Exactamente.
Exactly.
And within the home at 5 Vista Road, can you describe the house for me, how many bedrooms it has and how big it is?
La casa, Avera tiene 3 cuartos, tiene su garaje, tiene cocina, sala y el baño.
The house has 3 bedrooms, a garage, a kitchen, a living room, and the basement.
Do you know how big it is by square foot?
So el garaje es como de 2.5 a 13.5.
The garage is about 12.5 to 13.5.
12 by 13, is that what you mean?
Uh-huh.
And what about the total house?
Es grande,
It's big.
grande.
Big.
Okay, but if you don't know the square footage, you can say you don't know, that's okay.
I don't.
Okay. When we talk about the new barber shop, where do you propose for it to be at the house?
Me gustaría hacerlo en el garaje de mi casa,
I would like to do it in the garage of the house
porque me sentiría a gusto trabajar en mi lugar.
because I would feel comfortable working in my own home.
And would you be working only in the garage?
Me gustaría, sí.
I would like to, yes.
So the entire operation would be confined to the garage space?
Exactamente.
Exactly.
Okay. And tell me about your clients. What, do you serve primarily women or men?
Yo doy solamente servicio a hombres.
I serve mostly men.
What kind of services do you provide?
Solamente nada más cortes de pelo como cortes regulares, agua y cortes ligeras.
Just regular haircuts, you know, just with scissor cuts.
So no, nothing that involves chemicals?
Nothing, no chemicals.
You don't dye hair?
No.
You don't do permanent waves or anything?
No.
And what kind of equipment do you use?
Solamente equipo como máquinas Wall y nada más tijeras y la puerta nada más, que se usa para hacer los tortillos.
I just use, you know, wall equipment, scissors, and razors.
use what?
Si solamente para la parte de pelo se usa la máquina Wall y la tijera.
Just for the haircuts, I use wall equipment and scissors.
excuse me, wall be the brand wall, W-A-H-L?
La marca wall,
Ajá.
A-H-L, ajá.
Ujú.
But nothing, motorized or
Motorizado
electronic?
o electrónico.
No, solamente son eléctricos, sí, son wireless.
Just electric, they are wireless.
Electric clippers?
Yeah.
Okay, but nothing that makes extraordinary noise?
Nada que hace un ruido extraordinario.
No,
No.
Would you be able to hear what you're doing if you're standing on your lawn?
Una persona está parada
I'm sorry, standing in the,
On your lawn?
en su frente.
no.
No.
Okay. And tell me about your clients. Do you have a book of established clients?
Una libreta ya con clientes establecidos.
Yo tengo los clientes fijos que llevan muchos años trabajando conmigo, ¿sabes? Se recortan conmigo, que son con gusto con los recortes que yo le hago.
I just have a set of steady clients that have been with me for some years, that they are comfortable with the type of haircuts that I give them.
And you don't advertise currently?
No.
No.
And you understand that if you're granted a variance by this board, you won't be able to advertise?
No, yo solamente por eso voy. A ver, si lo haría por cita, lo haría por una sola persona.
No, I just want to be able to, do my business and just do it by appointment, only one person at a time.
Okay. And but you're not looking at, what I'm asking is, are you looking to add new clients to advertising?
Hasta ahora mismo no.
To this point, no.
Okay, and you understand that if the board gives you variance, you may not be able to advertise at all, right?
Sí me gustaría hacer un servicio bajo mi hogar, si me darían el permiso, me estaría muy a gusto.
Yes, the only things that I would like to, take care of my business and do my business in my own home and be comfortable doing it.
Okay. What hours do you propose to work?
Me gustaría abrir de 9 a 4:30.
I would like to open from 9 to 4:30.
Every day of the week?
¿Todos los días de la semana?
No,
No,
llamada de martes a sábado.
only Tuesday to Saturday.
Okay, so you would be taking Sunday and Monday off?
Exactamente.
Exactly.
And I think you mentioned that you were going to serve one client at a time, is that correct?
Claro.
Of course, yes.
Todo por cita.
Everything by appointment.
Okay, and if you do that by appointment, how do you tell your clients that you're ready for this?
Cuando ya yo vaya a hacer eso, ya vaya a hacer su sitio y por este hotel, llamo al cliente con citación para que vaya bajando 5 minutos antes.
When I go and do the shape up and the cleanup of the current haircut, then I can call the client 5 minutes ahead to let them know that I'm ready.
Okay, so there would literally never be a time when there would be a client waiting.
Exactamente.
Exactly.
Okay. So do you sell any retail goods?
¿Alguna mercancía?
Retail goods?
Yeah, like shampoo or conditioner or
No,
No, nothing,
Okay.
nothing.
Do you have any employees other than you?
no, yo no.
No, only me, just me.
Do you have any plans or desire to add any employees at any time?
En un futuro me gustaría, pero en todo caso, si abriera un negocio comercial fuera de mi hogar, no en mi hogar.
In the future, in any case, I would only if I would open a commercial business, not in my home.
Okay, but for right now, you understand that you would not be able to add employees if the board were to grant you a variance?
Claro.
Of course, yes.
I think that's all I have for now.
None?
Yeah, I have a question. Between the time that he was working at the shop on, what street was it? I can't remember.
Front Street.
Front Street, and now where has he worked? Has he been working out of his home or he hasn't been working?
No, solamente yo hacía, iba a la casa sobre lo que yo tenía y le hacía su servicio.
No, the only thing that I've done is I have gone to my clients' homes and provided the service.
I'm sorry. Again?
Que yo no iba a hacer un servicio a la casa del cliente cuando yo necesitaba un servicio.
I have only gone to my clients' houses and whenever they needed a service from me.
So you haven't been conducting any haircuts at your home now?
Not at this moment, no.
So one of the exhibits that was pre-marked by counsel shows a picture of, I'm gonna show you what's been pre-marked as exhibit, I think it's 7. Do you recognize that photograph?
Sí,
Yes,
And where is that located?
eso queda donde están.
that is in my home.
And is that already set up as a barber shop?
Sí.
Yes,
But you're telling me that you have not been cutting hair at this location?
No, hasta que me den una oportunidad para yo poder trabajar bajo la ley.
no, until I got the opportunity to be able to do it and by the law.
We have we want to be able to show the board what this setup would look like. So all this is furniture from Walmart that can.
Okay, you can ask him those questions, please. Yeah. Let us finish asking, and you can do a redirect if you have asked those questions. All right, do you have other questions?
No, we have to consider that point.
Keep going, yes. You wanna keep asking questions on that?
I think the issue is that hearsay, I would call it, from the neighbors.
Well, we'll get, I think the neighbor wants to ask that question.
Okay.
Well, and we can actually call her as a witness, if we care to do that.
Okay, if you would take care of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, before we go to her, do we have any other questions? We may be prompted with some other questions after she does it. Okay, so, Sherry, at this point, this is an opportunity to ask questions. So if you want to make statements, we'll have the opportunity to do that. But why don't you ask Mr. Ortiz if you have any questions?
Well, my one question was answered because of the hours. I saw on the paper that it said 7 to 6 p.m., but now he said it was going to be 9 to 4, which is better. We have kids going to school and everything on those roads and people going.
Okay.
But anyway, that's one thing. The other thing is, Javi, you have been doing hair. You've been doing hair there for 2 years, 4 years almost, from all day, every day of the week, for quite some time.
So do you disagree with that, Mr. Ortiz?
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news.
De que sí, ha hecho mis cortes de pelo, sí, pero ha sido familia, amistades, ¿sabe? Clientes viejos ya de años. Pero no fue mucho hacer trabajo ahí.
That I have done haircuts, yes, just to family members, friends, and some clients for many years, but not all the time and not frequent.
Sure, do you have any other questions? All right. We may want to have you sworn as a witness to ask you further questions. I'll defer to my board members because you've raised an interesting issue that we want to get some clarification. I'm sorry, Michelle?
Can I ask a question of you, just to clarify on the record? In an email exchange between Anderson, myself, and Ms. Rodenberg, And the reason that the public notice did indicate the hours were gonna be appointment only, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., 5 days a week, that directly contradicts what he said, so I just would like to clean up on the record very specifically, because a decision would be tied to both this and his testimony.
Right, the testimony is what's going to prevail, but good point, we will make sure that that's clear. So, as part of the application process and discussion with counsel, there was some indication that it was gonna be from 7 until 6:30,
7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Your testimony today was that the hours of operation are being proposed as 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So I wanna make sure it's clear, for the record, that you're looking for hours of operation from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. Before we go and make a decision on whether we want to call Sherry, is there any other questions that anybody has for Mr. Ortiz?
I don't think we've addressed the parking issue. Is there any parking there at all?
I was gonna have Sheila testify about the, parking area, but we can talk about that if you can have that.
We can wait.
We have another witness coming.
Yeah, we can wait to have her testify.
Yeah, let's clear that issue up as well.
So before we go to the next witness though, is there anything else for Mr. Ortiz?
I don't think so. Robert, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Has there ever been a business operated in that garage before?
No,
No,
no.
there has not been a business, no.
Is he the one that put the door in the garage, in the front of the garage rather than a garage door?
Sí, ya ves una puerta.
Yes, I put a door up, yes.
All right,
And you're talking about the man door, not the garage door, correct?
that's correct. Other than the garage, yeah, it's a manual door.
The man door, yes, small man door. Is that a yes?
Yes.
When did you install that door?
Hace, la puerta de garaje hace como dos años.
The door about, the garage door about 2 to 2 years.
Sorry, about two.
It goes,
Yo,
2 to 3 years.
And is that when you installed the other equipment for a barber shop in the garage?
sí.
Yes.
And how many people do you think that you have coming in to get haircuts on a
Friends and family.
daily basis? How many people per day do you typically have coming in currently to get haircuts?
Mayormente de 2 a 3 personas. Cuando ellos me llaman, van uno a cada hora. Una hora me llama uno para cortarlo y el barato de cortarlo así.
Mostly about 2 to 3 people. When they come one, let's say in 1 hour, one at a time. They phone me, one comes and then the other one comes later.
So you have about 2 or 3 people a day coming in currently?
Uh-huh.
I do have another question. Can you let me know if I can ask?
Yeah, go ahead,
Please
Robert.
proceed, Bob.
I was not clear when he said about the question about what he does for a living. Let me ask you this way. Does his primary source of income derive from being a barber?
Sí, barbero.
Yes, I am a barber.
Does he do anything else besides, does he have any other source of employment or income other than being a barber and deriving income from being a barber?
Más hacer barbero, eso ha sido mi trabajo toda la vida.
Only as a barber, that has been my only job my whole life.
Are you working as a barber any place other than at your home currently?
No, lo que sí lo que cojo son los poquitos que cojo, los cojo en mi casa, lo que se puede, por cita, puede ser uno o dos. Porque estoy en mi casa, ya no recibo. Y durante el día pues hago mi trabajo como que hacer.
No, the little that I get is by appointment only and 1 to 2 appointments because I am home during the day taking care of my children and the rest of the work that I do mobile work.
And explain to me the mobile work.
No es como un cliente me llama, me dice, hay un corte de pelo, pues voy y le hago su servicio, voy a su hogar y le hago su servicio. Lo hice desde mucho antes, han venido todos.
Mobile work means a client calls me and asks me for a haircut. I go to their home and give them their haircut.
You already mentioned you have 2 or 3 people per day at your home. How many mobile haircuts do you provide per day?
¿Al día?
Per day,
Bueno, mis hijos los llevo a la escuela, después de los dejo a la escuela, ahí yo puedo tener mi oportunidad de hacer mi trabajo y de recortarme antes que mis hijos salgan de la escuela.
per day, well, I take my children to school, then after that, then I have the opportunity to do my work and do my haircuts before the children get out of school.
Okay? And roughly how many per day mobile haircuts do you provide?
Hago como 5 o 6 gente.
About 5 to 6 people.
Okay. All right. So at the present time, you don't do any type of walk-in clients that just walk in to come to see you, correct?
Solamente con cita.
Only by appointment,
Uno.
one.
And you don't have any signage currently at the house for a barber shop?
No,
And you don't plan to put in any signage at the house for the barber shop?
No, porque eso no daría para el uso mío personal.
no, I would only do that for my personal use.
I don't understand the answer.
Yeah, I'm not sure I do either, Bob. What does that mean?
So, sí, yo haría nada, es un trabajo uso mío personal para los clientes míos de muchos años que ya tenía, que están a gusto de reportarse conmigo.
That I would do it personally to the clients that have been with me for many years and that they like the work that I do for them.
Yes, but my question is, are you planning on putting any signage at the property to advertise the barber shop?
Propaganda, no.
Advertisement, no.
But any signs, not just advertising, signs saying barber shop here or the name of the barber shop.
No.
And the last salon that you worked at on North Front Street, was that in the city of Reading? Yes?
Sí. Yes.
I'm sure. Do you have a license to act as a barber?
Sí.
Yes.
Do you have a copy of your license with you today?
Yes.
Let's mark this as, Michelle, did you put any board exhibits in during your last?
I don't know, he has I honestly don't remember. I don't believe so, but I honestly don't remember.
Yes, so you entered, looks like you entered board exhibit number 1, which was an email from Attorney Rotenberg dated March 25th, where she confirmed opening the hearing and continuing it to April 24th, today's date. Oh, it looks like there's another one too. After these 2 board exhibits, there's another one. So let's read this again. So it says, Attorney Rotenberg has indicated her client requires an interpreter
Yes.
No, I'm not asking a question at the moment. I'm just trying to understand what the exhibits were from the last hearing. So it looks like the board exhibit includes sworn affidavits attesting to the fact that the hearing was advertised and posted to occur on March 12th. I'm sorry, was not advertised, it was posted on the subject property on March 12th at approximately 9:40. It was mailed to all adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property on March 11th at approximately 10 a.m. Was advertised in the Reading Eagle on March 19th, 2024 and March 26th, 2024. So they were 2 of the exhibits, the first 2, which we'll again we'll go over them again in a few minutes since everybody's here. And the second exhibit, so board exhibit, that was board exhibit number 1, and board exhibit number 2 was a copy of the email from Attorney Rotenberg. Okay, so let's make this board exhibit number 3. Yes, I want you to make a photocopy of this if you would please, which is a copy of the license. You have it, great. Copy of the license for Mr. Ortiz, bearing license number BL, capital B, capital L, 058135. Expires at the end of this month, 4/30/2024. If you have it, it'd be awesome. If you can bring me a copy, it'd be great. We'll mark that as board exhibit number 3. We'll let them finish and then we'll do. All right. Does anybody have any further questions for Mr. Ortiz? Any board members? Robert?
No, I don't.
Neither do I. So I believe we're ready to move on to the next, Ms. Rotenberg, I believe we're ready to move on to your next witness.
Yes, I was gonna call Sheila Cortez, please.
Okay, Ms. Cortez, you've been sworn, so please proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Cortez, how do you know Javi?
He's my husband.
Okay, so does that mean you live at 5 Vista Road as well?
Yes, I do.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You said
That means you live,
I live in 5 Vista Road.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a lead cook over at Landis Home.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Lead cook at Landis Home.
Okay. And so you work outside of the house?
Yes, I do.
You're in favor of your husband having the salon in the garage, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you understand, looking at this picture that's on the screen that's been marked as applicant 7, that if the board grants your variance, you're gonna have to get, you're gonna have to work with the codes officer to make sure that the space is up to code, right?
Yes, I am aware of. We have to set it up to code. That was just designed so that we were gonna first go into the barbering borough and then kind of go from there. But they push us back asking that we have to go through the zoning permission first. We did not know that, so that's how this whole came into play. But we are aware that we have to be in code.
It's being, and that includes having an ADA compliant, bathroom for customers, right?
Yes,
And that may include adjustments to the thickness of the walls or to the, electricity, correct?
whatever.
I'm sorry, or to the what?
Electricity?
Yes, whatever it will require for us to operate from our house.
Okay. So looking at the space, I think your husband testified that it's about 12 by 13, right?
He doesn't know the space. So the space is actually 19 by 24, and our property overall is actually 2,400 square foot.
Okay. So this, the garage, where this would be, is a relatively small part of the total property, right?
Yes,
Okay. And looking at the, garage today, you can't see any sign of any activity going on in the garage, correct?
no,
And is it your intention to keep it that way?
yes,
So looking at, let's just stick with applicants number 7 for a second now. I can see a barber chair and a place to sit, right?
yes,
And then the only other fixtures that are there are a sink and a mirror and a cabinet, right?
Mhm.
And
yes,
am I correct that these are all things that you bought at Walmart and places like that?
yes, and it's all movable, like nothing's attached to the ground, nothing, besides the cabinet that's attached to the wall, there's nothing that's not movable, everything moves, is able to move, like,
I'm sorry, everything is what?
movable,
So if someone were to buy this house from you in the future and want to remove all this stuff, it would not be hard, right?
not at all,
Okay. And these are not sort of hard mounted into the wall or anything like that?
no,
Okay. So I want to talk to you about the neighborhood, in general, and to do that, I want to look at what's been previously marked as applicant's exhibit 1, which maybe we can pull up here. Do you recognize this picture, or what's depicted here?
it's State Hill Road,
I'm sorry?
State Hill Road,
State Hill Road.
State Hill.
No, that's Vista Road.
ours is Vista Road here, but State Hill Road runs across.
Okay, so you're saying that this is Vista Road, and then where do you see State Hill Road?
Like, the,
Traffic light?
yes, the traffic light, is State Hill Road.
Alright, so this is the picture, is this a fair and accurate representation of the corner of Vista Road and State Hill Road?
Yes,
Okay, and so where is your house relative to where this picture was taken?
our house is three houses down,
3 houses down from what?
from State Hill Road, Vista Road, 3 houses.
Gotcha, so your houses is three in from the corner of State Hill Road and Vista Road, right?
Yes,
Okay,
On which side?
the right. When you're looking at this picture, right there, it's on our right side.
so was this picture taken from your driveway or the driveway across the street?
Across the street.
Okay. And so what you can see here, in addition to the stoplight, there's some businesses within visual distance, right?
Yes,
What businesses are those?
so we have First National Bank, we have Starbucks, FedEx, Salad Work, and then the
I'm
rest
sorry, what was
of
the last one? I didn't understand.
Starbucks, FedEx, what was the last one?
the Salad Work,
Salad Works.
yeah, and
Try
then,
and keep your voice up for me, I'm having trouble hearing that.
And then
And
it-
slowly.
okay, sorry,
So me
and then
too.
it just continues on with the rest of the stores,
So this is a pretty busy commercial area, right?
yes, it is.
And do you get sound from that?
Yes, there's nonstop traffic going on from that road. It's a busy road,
Can you hear it from your house?
of course.
All right, great. Moving on to what's been previously marked as applicant's A2. Do you remember taking this picture?
Yes, it's behind our backyard.
It's my backyard.
So, tell me where you were standing when you took this picture.
So we were on our back yard, taking the picture to the business that's right behind our yard, our property, behind us, which is the Glossy Nail Salon.
Okay, and where is the glossy nail salon in this picture?
Right, the white building right there,
At the end of the road?
yes.
And what about what's the gray building in the middle there?
I think it's just another house.
Okay, and so this commercial property is visible from your backyard?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and is this a fair and accurate representation of your backyard on a Saturday morning?
Yes,
Or at least the view from your backyard on a Saturday morning?
yes.
I wanna move on to what's been previously marked as applicants 3. Do you recognize that view?
Yes, it's our neighbor's house in front of us.
Okay, and so that's right across the street from you?
Yes,
And that's on Vista Road also?
yes it is.
And how many houses in from the corner of State Hill Road are those folks?
3,
Okay, so the same as you.
yes.
And what's the big building behind them?
It's right,
Alright, and is that a big Rite Aid or a little one, or?
it's a commercial writing, it's a big commercial writing store.
Is it busy?
Yes,
Okay. And does their property abut the, Rite Aid property there?
it's their property and then writings.
Okay, so it's literally the boundary of your neighbor's house as well?
Yes,
Okay. Moving on to what's been previously marked as applicants 4, do you recognize that view?
yes, it's, I'm not sure the street of it, but it's right up the street from us, the church area, it's right there, and I don't know what the building's called.
It's Lawndale Avenue.
That's okay, please, you're not a witness.
Alright, so this is a synagogue, right?
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay. And how far is it from your house?
Like 2 minutes?
How long did it take to walk there?
Oh. 8 seconds, I would say like 10, 20 seconds, like it's literally up the street from our house.
Okay. And do people come and attend synagogue?
Yes,
What, are there times that are busier than other times?
I would say more like the weekend area time, that it gets busy sometimes on the weekday.
Alright, and people, to get to this synagogue, do people often go down Vista Road?
Yes,
Gotcha. And is this a fair and accurate representation of the view of the corner of Vista and Lawndale Road?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, will do.
Yes.
Thanks.
Moving on to what's been previously marked as applicants exhibit 5. Do you recognize that image?
It's the church across the synagogue.
From the synagogue.
Yes, it's a church that's right across from it.
Okay, and that's also around the corner from your house, right?
Yes,
Is it less than a 5-minute walk?
yes, less than 5-minute walk.
Okay, and it is sort of near the corner of Lawndale and Vista, right?
Yes,
Okay. And is there a time when it's busier, that people that come around to use it?
oh, of course, yes, it's definitely gets busy in there, it's a church.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Do me a favor, you two are talking to each other. We need to hear you
Yeah,
in this
so
sentence.
why don't we, maybe it'd be easier if we move her down to this other, where her husband is, maybe if they switch chairs here.
Sorry to make you get up.
Sorry.
Thank you.
If that chair's in the way, just put it back.
But you can even sit there, actually.
Yeah.
Just sit right there.
That way Ms. Rodenberg will be facing me too.
Okay,
Oh,
that's a
sorry.
good idea. No, it's fine. I thought I was being very loud, but she told me. So we were talking about this building
The church.
and what days it gets busiest.
There is activity during the week as well, I would say Sunday as well.
And do you find, or can you, from the best of your knowledge, do people use Vista Road to get to this church?
Yes,
And the final picture that I have for you is applicant's number 6.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, do you recognize that image?
yes, it's our driveway.
Okay, and that's the garage door behind it, right?
Yes,
Okay. So is that your car or hobby's car?
that's my vehicle.
And is it usually there during the day?
No, I work on the day.
Okay. And do you understand that if you're granted a variance, the board may ask you to dedicate that space to any customers who come for haircuts, right?
Of course, that's fine, they can take the driveway, the grass, they can take wherever they will. I know, but yes, it's available, yeah.
That you are willing to give them your spot?
Of course.
Okay. And how many cars do you think you can fit there?
I know it's a driveway, but I can fit 2 cars, and if I have to expand it to make another driveway, that's not an issue either.
Okay. So you're saying that if the board were to condition a variance on you adding a driveway pad to that muddy part there, you'd
Yeah,
be willing to do that?
yes.
Okay. And, typically, if we go back for a second to, the first, exhibit, you took that on a Saturday morning, right?
Yes,
Do you ever have trouble parking around your neighborhood?
no,
Is it hard to find like one extra space if you need it?
not at all.
Okay. Give me 1 moment. If we could go back to number 6 for a second. So that's the outside of the space right now, and it's 2 doors, correct? There's a little door and then the garage door.
Yeah,
Do you have any intention of altering that?
no,
Okay. You have any interest in adding a sign to it?
no, not at all.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Robert, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Ashley? I don't think I have anything.
Just a couple, just for clarification. So if we can go back to A1. Ms. Ortiz, on A1, you indicated that there are other businesses that are depicted on that photograph. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Are you, me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, there's,
Yes.
I'm Cortez, sorry.
Cortez, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes,
Not-
Cortez. It's Cortez.
Yes, there's businesses across the street from us.
Okay. Can you see them on that photograph?
Yes, I can see First National Bank right there. I can see the sign that says FedEx.
I'm sorry, I can see the sign, it's what?
It says FedEx.
All right. Are they located on the same side of State Hill as your residence? Or are they on the opposite side of State Hill Road?
They're across the street.
So they're on the opposite side of State Hill Road?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know, is that also in the same zoning district as your house? Or is the zoning district different over there?
I'm not sure if it's different or the same.
Okay.
I would probably say it's the same.
Okay. And we can get clarification on that as we go on. All right, can we go back to the next picture, please? And you indicated that on that one you can see glossy nails.
Yes,
All right, this is from your backyard looking towards State Hill Road, is that correct?
yes,
And is glossy nails, is that located on the same side of State Hill as your house or the opposite side?
that's right on our, like behind our street, so
It's on the same side of State Hill.
it's the same side of our street.
Understood. All right, and do you know, is that in the same zoning district as your house?
I'm not sure either, but I would say yes, cause I mean, you're only behind my yard, so.
All right. But you don't know the answer to that question?
No, I do not, I can't say yes or no to that.
Now, you offered, if you go down to the A6, no, sorry, yes, A6. Let's talk about parking for a moment. The way that is set up right now is a one-car driveway, is that correct?
Yes,
You can't, you don't have parking to the rear of your property?
no,
There's no alley that goes back to the rear of your property?
no,
Does your husband have a vehicle?
Yes,
And where does he park his vehicle?
on the front of the house,
On the street?
yeah.
And if you are going to provide this space for parking for customers, where would you park your vehicle?
By the time that I get home, those spaces should be available. But, you know, if I would have to park on the street, I don't mind it, so that the customers can park there. But between the hours of operation that we plan to hopefully, you know, get, I will be coming out, like, just getting home.
So do you work the same day, you work Tuesday through Saturday?
I work Monday, I have like 1 week off during the day and every other weekend, and that's how the rotation falls.
So there would be some overlap where customers would be coming and you would not be working.
My schedule's from 7 to 3:30, but I have a 30-minute drive, so I get home around 4:30.
But I'm saying there's some overlap where you would not be working, where your husband would still be cutting hair.
Yes, eventually, yes, but they can take the space, that's not a problem.
You mentioned that you would be willing to expand the driveway to include another off-street parking space. Do you know, is that permitted by the zoning ordinance?
I will have to look into that. If they allow us to operate from our house, then, and we would require another parking space, then that area there, then I will, you know, get permission or whatever is required to make that into a parking space.
You understand that would possibly require you to come back to the zoning hearing board because of impervious coverage, you might have to come back here for additional zoning.
Yeah. Well, it just kinda is what it is. Whatever it takes to get our business running from our house, then.
Now,
Give me 1 second, Dave.
sorry. So, I just want to go down in reference to the exhibit A7. Are you aware that, has there been haircuts taking place at that location?
So that's not accurate. That was designed there because we were moving to getting the business approved through the beauty salon. But then we found out that we have to get approved first from the zoning area. So it pushed us back. Like, I thought it was just going straight through beauty.
You mean through the state licensing?
Exactly. I thought it was going through that first. But then when I spoke to them on the phone, they were like, you have to get zoning permission. And I was like, okay, so it's pushed us back to this area here.
But there has been haircuts taking place at this location for some time.
No. So my husband's a mobile barber. So what he does is he cuts people at their houses. Like, we have family, we have friends who come over, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we are operating from there. We are operating a business from there at all, you know.
So answer this question. Have there been haircuts taking place at this location?
No, my family gets cuts, but
So then the answer is yes.
if you're considering family and stuff, yes. But it's.
So family and stuff, what is stuff? Who are,
Friends, family and friends.
okay?
But we don't charge our family and friends at all. So it's like, they're family.
Okay.
We're not gonna do that.
So there have been no haircuts here that have paid compensation
No.
for haircuts?
No, he cuts people at their home because we're still in the waiting process from here and hear back from the beauty.
All right, I don't think I have anything further for this. You guys have anything further?
I just have one follow-up.
One minute, one moment. Sherry, do you have any questions?
question is what your question was.
Okay, if it's already been answered, we don't have to go through it again. If you have another question, please feel free.
Yeah, if there have not been any haircuts going on there all this time, then why are there 10 to 20 vehicles sometimes in a day, or 50 in a week, or
That's
whatever
not
been
true.
going on all this
Okay,
time?
we're not gonna go argue back and forth. She's asking a question. She's asking, have there been, this is to you, but let her finish. So your question is, have there been 20 to 50 vehicles at different times? 20 to 50 vehicles every week?
Why have there been that? Why then have there
Okay,
been?
understood. Can you answer that question?
We're not the only house that lives there, like, I can't control other people's visiting situations, but because she sees all these cars there, it doesn't particularly mean they're from us.
Understood. Do you have any other questions?
Then why are they going in and not having a haircut and coming out with a haircut? They're not all friends.
Okay, so we'll have you be able to make a statement in a few minutes, and you can explain.
Well, isn't she gonna testify?
She may, we'll have to talk to the board about whether they want her to testify or not.
Okay.
So, and she may be able to make a statement as well, but we'll talk about that in a second. Is there any other questions for Ms. Cortez?
No.
Michelle?
Can I ask the obvious one? What's the argument for hardships? Why can this property not be used as a single-family residential property?
Well, I mean, legally, I guess this is a question
Well,
directed to me, right?
That's really more legal, it's more of a legal question, it's not really a factual question. Right now, we're trying to elicit facts.
Fair.
We'll let Ms. Otenberg explain that during her closing statement, if she cares to do so.
Fair.
All right.
So I had a follow-up question.
Go ahead, please do.
My follow-up question for Sylvia, did you adjust the parking at all? Or was, okay, so the parking was, as you see it now is how it was when you bought the property?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
I actually do have one additional question related to this. What was the purpose of putting the man door on the garage if it wasn't being used for anything other than a garage?
When we plan to go to do our business from the garage. So when we found out that we had to step into the borough, into the zoning, we had to get zoning permission, is when, we realized that we couldn't just move forward with the barber shop.
But he testified he put that door in two and a half years ago.
Yes, we put the door, yes, but the process to the whole business didn't start 2 years ago. We just started the process to try to get the business approved. So we made the changes to the garage, just going forward, all this might be what's needed, because you can't get people through the garage door. So we knew we had to get that change, you know. So when we did that, after we did the changes, that's when we started looking into how do we make it to get the business into the beauty approved. And then when I called, they told me that we have to go through the zoning first. And I was like, well, we have already made the change. I knew we needed a door.
Okay.
So we just made the changes
Okay.
to get it approved through the beauty salon. But then they told us we had to get it first approved through the zoning.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions?
No.
Robert, anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Rosenberg, do you have any further witnesses or exhibits?
I did wanna ask some questions of the zoning officer, but I don't know if I want to do it now or.
She will be, they will be sworn, both of these are already sworn, I'm sorry, but they both be providing testimony shortly where you'll be able to ask them.
Okay, that's fine,
Okay.
then other than that, no, I'm.
Okay, so you rest your case?
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move for your exhibits.
yes.
All right, so your exhibits will be entered into evidence, so those exhibits are all entered. All right. Board members, at this point, do you want to ask Ms. Sherry?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let me just get back to that section for a second. Thank you. Ms. Walker, at this point in time, the board would like to ask you some questions
Okay.
based upon the information and the questions that you've asked and the statements you've made during that
Okay.
questioning process. So we'd like to have you sworn.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. So let me ask you a few questions if I may.
Sure.
So, Ms. Walker, what is your address?
3 Vista Road, Wyomissing, PA 19610.
And where is that in relationship to 5 Vista Road, the property that's subject to the application?
I am the second house in on the left when you enter onto Vista Road off of State Hill Road.
Sorry, the second house one?
Sorry, second house on the left.
As you're coming from State Hill,
When you come from State Hill onto Vista, I'm the second house on the left.
so are you adjoining this property?
Yes,
So they're the third house on the left from State Hill.
correct,
So you're adjoining this property.
correct.
All right. And are you familiar with activities that are happening at this particular property from observation?
Yes.
Can you explain what you've seen going on at the property?
For approximately the last 3 and 4 years, I've witnessed lots of people, lots of men, women, children coming in and out. Whatever they're doing in there, supposedly, looks like they're getting haircuts to me when they come out.
And why do you say it looks like they're getting haircuts?
Well, they might go in, there might be some kids that may look like their hair needs cut, and when they come out, it has a really nice clipper cut.
And how many people do you see doing that?
I've already seen 10 cars in a day. And it can be Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays also, which I would like to see not happen. I don't want to deny anyone to have a business and earn a living. That's not my goal here. My goal is we have a major parking situation and driving situation on Vista Road to begin with. And you can have 10 cars parked along that road at one given time, and people coming in off of State Hill Road will not stop. I personally cleaned up someone's mirror dirt out at my curb about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, that someone must have been over getting a haircut and lost their mirror that someone didn't stop. And if that car's parked along the curb, 2 people will still attempt to come through. It's 3 cars. It is absolutely horrendous.
Now, do you know, Ms. Walker, do you know that that particular instance was from somebody who was at the 5 Vista Road property?
It had to have been because my other neighbors were not parking there, and none of my other neighbors lost a mirror that I'm aware of. I just know that I cleaned up mirror dirt.
Okay, so you don't really know where that came from then?
I just know that there was a car parked there based off of where the dirt was.
But what you're trying to explain to us, it's a tight, narrow road.
Very tight.
2 cars cannot pass at the same time?
No, but they do.
They try to,
Oh, they do.
and they can.
Yeah, they will not stop. If they're coming in off of State Hill, they will not stop. They just keep coming. And if the person's coming out from the other way, they will find a way to get through, and if it's 1 inch space.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do the board members, do you have any other questions for Ms. Walker?
My question, Ms. Walker, would be, do you object to this business being here, or do you just would like to see it restricted to maintain the
I would like a
integrity of the-
major restriction. I don't want, so many times my children come over and my whole family has to park in the yard because there's so many people parked between at 5 Vista that I don't have any room to have my family park, and everyone parks in my yard.
So the point of your objection is primarily the parking issue.
Yeah, it's a lot of it. And 1 Vista Road, he has a work truck there also that, I don't know what he does with it. He parks up on my curb, he does all kinds of things. It just sits there for days and days on end, and it's also a hindrance in the borough.
Okay, but just to reiterate, you
Yeah.
have no
I don't
objection to these
want,
young people,
I'm
no
sorry.
objection to these young people having a business in their home?
No,
Okay.
no,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Ms. Rodenberg, would you like to ask Ms. Walker some questions?
I would, just for the record, ma'am, so, in my understanding, you can't hear haircuts happening?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you when you say.
You can't hear haircuts happening, you don't hear any noise coming from the home?
No,
Okay.
no,
And there's not any smells or explosions or anything like that?
no,
Okay. Your primary concern is the parking and the number of cars that come down the street, right?
absolutely.
Okay, and you would agree with me that on the weekends, to some extent, the traffic picks up on that road because of the houses of worship that are at the end, right?
Oh,
I'm
that's
sorry,
always,
Because of what?
The houses of worship that are at the end or at the corner of Lawndale.
we've always had normal traffic with that, and that has never been a real hindrance. The synagogue in the back is not a problem. The church of the Brethren is not a problem because they use the parking lot for where Rite Aid is. No one comes through our area for that. It's always, it's a lot of the people back from Downing Drive and all the other places that swarm through there because it's the only traffic light, the closest one to get out of State Hill. So it's super, super congested.
Gotcha. And to your point about the cars and the parking, I understand that you feel that there's not enough parking on your street, correct?
Correct.
And that there's houses, the guy at 1 Vista Road takes up more space than he needs to, correct?
Well, yeah, but if I'd like to add to that, whenever we had X number of vehicles at my residence, we always parked accordingly and had them off the road, which I feel as if you live at 2, 3, 5, 8, 10, whatever number you're at, get your vehicles off the street, keep them parked off the street, so it would allow space for other people to park there and it wouldn't be such a problem.
I think my point is, so you haven't seen like 10 people come out of 5 Vista Road and get into cars, right, at any point?
I've seen 10 cars off and on in a day.
But at one time, you haven't seen
No.
10 people come, okay.
No, but
So there's
you,
one car that.
or 2 or
was a-
3.
But, okay. At one time, you've seen 2 or 3?
Oh, yeah.
But you
I'm
don't know
sorry,
that
wait,
those
wait,
people.
wait, wait. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I
one at a
can't hear
time,
you.
please.
You don't know why all those people are there, correct?
I know they're not family.
Well, you don't necessarily know that. Have you talked to all of them?
I know that there's a lot of vehicles there that are not always there, the same vehicles all the time.
Okay. All right, but certainly we can agree that 2 or 3 is the most that you've seen at one time. Is that fair to say?
2 to 3,
Okay. And
besides everybody else's vehicles then on top of
besides
it.
the actual people who live in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
One second, if I can. And you would agree with my client that you can't actually, they don't have a sign, they've never put up any notice, anything like that, right?
No,
And it looks like a normal garage, right?
no.
You don't think it looks normal? Why?
No, because I thought it was weird when the garage door came down and the small garage door and the people door, if you want to call it that, was placed there instead of the the garage that the Foreys had there all these years. So I knew something was taking place at that given time.
But it doesn't, I mean, it still looks like a residential space, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you very much. Board members, do you have anything further for Ms. Walker?
Robert?
No.
Okay, thank you, no further questions.
No further questions, okay. So at this point then, what I'd like to do is talk to both Michelle and to Anderson. But before we do that, let's start with Michelle. And Michelle, I want
Need to re-enter my exhibits.
yes,
For
I
Audrey's
do
hands
want
crammed
to
down
do
there.
that. And I also want to talk to you a little bit about the zoning districts.
Okay.
And then we're gonna let, Ms. Rodenberg will have the opportunity to cross-examine you. We'll go through your exhibits that you would typically do, the housekeeping piece, and then we'll have the opportunity for a cross-examine as well. So remember, you've been sworn, Michelle. So in your capacity as the,
Secretary to the zoning hearing board?
no, I'm gonna actually go with the borough manager,
Okay.
as the borough manager.
And alternate commercial
And
zoning
just for the
officer.
record, so that it's clear, Michelle serves many different functions here in the borough. She is the borough manager, she's a secretary for the zoning hearing board, she's been the zoning officer for many years here at the borough. Now Anderson has taken over many of those duties. So Michelle, I believe, is very familiar with the zoning regulations and what has been happening here at the borough. Michelle, how long have you been working for the borough?
Almost 16 years.
And how long have that have you been borough manager?
2.5.
And before that, how long were you, and how were you involved with the zoning issues at the borough?
Since July of 2008 when I was hired.
Okay, so for the 16 years or so, you've been,
2008 when I was hired.
so you've been working with the zoning issues from the beginning of your hiring until the present time, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So Michelle, I want to talk to you a little bit about, you've heard the testimony here today, is that correct?
Yes.
And you saw some of the exhibits that we were referencing through the process and the testimony that's been provided relating to them.
Correct.
All right, so I want to direct your attention to Exhibit A1, and there was some testimony that there are businesses located on the opposite side of State Hill, such as FedEx, Salad Works, and others.
Correct.
Are they in the borough of Wyomissing?
Yes, they are.
And what zoning district are they in?
C2 commercial.
Commercial, is that a different district from where this is located?
Yes, this isn't a residential zoning district.
And this is the R1A.
1A.
What does R1A permit? What kind of uses?
Single family by right, and special exception, generally a place of worship, so a church, a synagogue, something along those lines.
So those types of uses that are in that district are permitted by special exception.
Correct.
So there was some testimony that was provided based upon some of the other exhibits that were provided. So for example, I think they were towards the end, A4 and A5, I believe. A4, I believe, showed the synagogue. Is that in the borough of Wyomissing?
Yes.
And is that, what street is that located along?
Warwick and Lawndale.
Okay, and Lawndale is the one you see in the exhibit?
Lawndale is the one that has the bike share on it,
Yep,
yes.
okay. And the synagogue is the tan-colored building off to the left?
Correct, and that's
Okay.
also located in the R1A zoning district.
And did they obtain the necessary,
It's also located in the.
R1A, like Apple, zoning
I'll
district.
slow down, I know.
We know better.
I'm already
I
worn
know.
out.
I know, I go really fast. All right, so the synagogue's in the R1A zoning district. That's the same district as 5 Vista.
Correct.
Did the synagogue obtain the necessary zoning relief to get their permission to construct the synagogue at that location?
I honestly have no idea, because that's the former Wyomissing Hillsborough, and we have very limited records from them when they were incorporated into the borough in 2000.
So that would then be, at a minimum, would be a non-conforming use, pre-existing non-conforming
Correct.
use.
Correct.
May I say something about that?
Go ahead, Howard.
It's not normal for me to say something, but I believe it was a church before it was a synagogue.
Okay. Either way, that was there prior to the borough of Wyomissing,
Incorporating the borough
Incorporating-
of Wyomissing Hills, yes.
and therefore that would be considered a pre-existing non-conforming use.
Correct.
All right. Now I want to direct your attention to the, I think it's the Church of the Brethren, which is on Exhibit A5. What zoning district is that located?
That's located in C1, so all of the properties on the west side of State Hill Road are in the C1 zoning district, other than 2 properties at the corner of Vista that are zoned residential because they are single-family homes.
Okay, so what we're gonna talk about, the west side of State Hill Road, just so it's clear for the record, is the side of State Hill that.
It's closest to 5 Vista and on the same side as 5 Vista.
Okay, same side as site 5 Vista. So that leads me to my next question, which is on A2, there was some reference to a building or a business.
Glossy
that was
Nails.
called Glossy Nails?
Yes, permitted by right in the C1 zoning district.
Okay, and so that's a different zoning district for Glossy Nails than it is for the property in question?
Correct.
Okay, and that has the proper zoning and/or relief to operate as a business at that location?
Correct.
All right. Is there in the R1 zoning district, to operate this type of business, you need a variance, is that correct?
Correct. R1A,
R1A zoning district, would need a variance, is that right?
yes.
Okay. So, during the beginning and during some of the conversation, there was some discussion about a special exception needed for, let's go back to my notes here. I want to make sure I'm clear. Under 622.3, Class 3, permitted by special exception in certain zoning districts.
This is not one of them.
This is not, the R1A is not a zoning district in which this type of use, the barber shop, would be permitted by special exception.
Correct,
So as a result, they would need a variance to be able to establish the hardship.
correct.
All right.
And just to clarify, even though the Vista Road and these homes on Vista Road are in R1A, just at the end of that road, it is C2.
On the east side of State Hill Road, it is C2. On the west side of State Hill Road, it is C1. The primary difference from a zoning perspective, C1 always directly abuts residential. So you still have commercial uses, retail service established restaurants, so, you know, your hair salons, your nail salons, your typical restaurant that are permitted by right, but not your big box stores like Walmart or Redner's or the shopping plazas you see on the east side of State Hill Road across the street.
So, but essentially, there's a line behind that property, between that and the properties in Vista Road that says, this is one zoning area, this is another zoning area.
Yes, and if you'd like me to pull up the zoning map to illustrate that, I
Yes,
do.
can you do that, Michelle, so we can understand it maybe more clearly? We'll mark this as board exhibit, I believe we're going to be at board exhibit number 3.
Yeah. I'll just do it.
And Michelle,
Yes, Bob,
the Glockendale property, that faces State Hill Road, does it not?
it does face State Hill Road, correct?
And this property faces Vista, obviously.
Correct.
All right.
So Michelle, what we'll ask you to do here is if you can expand that map out to the area in question, the Vista Road State Hill area. And while this is a, excuse me, while this is a electronic version of this, I'm gonna ask you at the conclusion of the hearing to print this out and mark on it where you're gonna show us and designate now kind of the location of the boundary lines for the C1 and the R1A zoning district.
So, to clarify, on the east side of State Hill Road, Vista Road turns into Berkshire Boulevard. So it is not Vista Road on the other side.
So if we were to continue straight across through the stop line that was shown on exhibit A1, it would change to Berkshire Boulevard,
Correct.
okay?
So where I have the cursor on the map, I'm coming across Berkshire Boulevard to Vista Road. I'm stopping directly in front of the property, 3 in on the right or south side of Vista Road, which would be 5 Vista Road. And you can see directly across the street from them, which I'm gonna assume is 6 Vista Road, there's purple shading with C and number 1 that indicates the C1 zoning district. The property at 5 Vista is shaded in what I'm gonna call as tannish orange. That indicates
Property at C.
the property at 5 Vista is shaded in a tannish orange, denoting it's in the R1A zoning district. And you can see that every property on the west side of State Hill Road that directly abuts State Hill Road, other than 1 and 2 Vista Road, are located in the C1 zoning district.
All right, the reason for that, well, I see that it looks like C1 runs on the west side of State Hill all the way down to, geez, I'm not sure how far
Green,
down that.
Valley Green effectively.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Valley Green, I'm sorry, not Valley Green, Greenwood Mall.
and the only place that it comes out to, the R1A comes out to State Hill is right there along Vista.
Correct.
And why is that?
Because those properties were single family homes. The borough tried very hard when Wyomissing Hills was incorporated into the borough in the early 2000s to mimic the zoning or uses that were already in place. The majority of State Hall Road at that time, I believe, was already developed as these commercial uses with residential directly behind it. Those two properties remained single family homes, therefore the decision was made, those were kind of the gateway into the residential zoning district. The borough's received a request from the owner of One Vista to rezone it to C1 and has declined the request. But the decision's been made, I mean, it's a residential zoning district, keep it residential, that's the uses that are primarily there.
All right, thank you very much. And if you would please just print out a copy of this for us, and then just, you know, kind of highlight that area so that we can very clearly see where you were talking about.
I can also mark the subject properties.
Please do, please do. And then please make sure we get a copy of that to Ms. Rotenberg as well, all right? All right, and Ms. Rotenberg, board members, any other questions for Michelle before we ask? Okay, Ms. Rotenberg, please, if you have questions for Michelle.
Yeah, just a couple actually. So just looking back up at the map for a second. So just so I understand, so One Vista would like to be zoned commercial. That's the property that I believe our neighbor talked about, correct?
Possibly.
With having a big white truck. That's the owner wanted to become zone commercial.
I'm not familiar with who parks there, I just know the address from prior zoning requests.
Okay, so we have One Vista, 3 Vista, and with our neighbor represented here, and then ours is at 5 Vista, correct?
I'm sorry, and what?
Our property is at 5 Vista. The properties across Vista from my clients, they are bump up against the C1 zone district, correct?
According to the map, no. I mean, the properties across are abutted by residential in the back.
But you saw the picture of the Rite Aid, right?
The Rite Aid, which would be roughly in this area, yes.
Okay, thank you. So basically what I'm saying is you could, if you're standing on Vista Road, you could throw a baseball to the C1 zoning area without having a whole lot of talent, right?
I would say if you're within the 5 to 1 or 2 to 6 range, beyond that, you probably need to be an MLB player.
Alright. And again, as to the C2 zoning district, you probably can't throw a baseball to it, but you could walk there within about 20 seconds, right?
Yes.
Okay. And similarly with the C1 on the other side with Glossy Nails, that's very close to my client's property, correct?
Yes.
And you can literally see it from their property, correct?
You can see the rear of it, yes.
Okay. I wanted to ask you actually just really briefly about home-based businesses in the code, if you have that handy in your mind.
Sure.
Am I correct that you can apply for, or by right, a person can open a class 2 home-based business in this district?
As long as the use itself is meeting one of the permissible uses permitted by right, class 2 in the zoning district, yes.
And so would that include being a seamstress and those kinds of things?
Yes.
Okay. And so the kind of like small amount of commercial traffic, so like serving one client at a time type of businesses are allowed within that district, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And some amount of commercial traffic, some amount of visitation of a home for a home-based business is allowed within that district, correct?
Yes.
And those are all allowed by right?
Correct.
Okay. Let me just check that everything else. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Sorry, you done?
I am, yes.
And just one quick follow-up, is a barber shop considered a home-based business?
Yes. Well, I mean, if you're operating it from a residential property that's primary use is a single family home,
I'm
yes.
sorry.
Sorry.
Slowly.
I said if you're operating it from a single family residence whose primary use is as a residential home, yes. Sorry, Audrey.
And how does that impact this particular application?
How does what impact?
The fact, the home-based business, if it's a home-based business that you just testified, it can be permitted in any district,
Not a barber shop, no. A barber shop is specifically excluded.
That's what I asked. So a barber shop is not a home-based business?
It can be one, through the special exception approval process in other zoning districts, not the R1A zoning district.
So in the R1A zoning district, can a barber shop be a home-based business?
Not by right now.
Okay. So the only way you can have a barber shop in the R1A
Is through a variance.
is through variance.
Yes. Yes.
Can I ask one follow-up?
Please.
Just to be clear, you can be a seamstress in R1A by right, correct?
Yes.
And similarly, you could be an architect or a lawyer or, any number of other things by right, correct?
Correct, and I think where you're both maybe going with this, or I'm just reading into it, the denotation there from the borough standpoint is, if you think of an architect, let's say an engineer, a financial planner, what we're gonna call a professional type of office. Your client turnover is likely less, you're likely to be able to do more by phone, that you wouldn't necessarily have to have that client come to your house to meet with you in person. Even with the seamstress, I would say someone's maybe coming for 5-10 minutes to drop things off, hey, you need these pants altered an inch, or hey, pin me quick and fit this. But they're not staying there for an hour plus. Therefore, the seamstress is doing the bulk of the work on her own, I shouldn't say her, his or her own time, within the home, and then either the client's coming to pick the clothing up and leaving, or they're taking the clothing to the client and leaving. So less intense on the neighborhoods.
Anything further?
Well, I mean, I would like to ask.
No, we'll get to that in a second from Michelle. All right, because I'm gonna continue through, although, are you looking to, because I wanna hit our procedural exhibits as well. Let me just double check here for a second. At one point, Mr.
I want to say a couple of words.
You'll
At
have
some
the opportunity
point.
at the end to make a statement,
Yes.
okay? All right, good, all right. So I wanna go through the procedural exhibits, but are you looking to recall?
Just for one question,
Who are you looking to recall?
my client,
Okay? Mr. Ortiz.
Mr. Ortiz.
All right, Mr. Ortiz, remember you're sworn, we'll allow you to recall him for one question.
Maybe two, but, so how long does it take to give a haircut?
15 minutes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, and now you've rested again.
Promise,
All right,
this is
we're
it.
done, okay.
I'm getting this.
All right, then we're gonna go into, so the way it's gonna work now is we're gonna go into the procedural exhibits. This is kind of making sure that we've done what we're supposed to be doing to get to this hearing. And then we will allow those people who would like to make unsworn statement the opportunity to do that. And then you have the opportunity to close. Okay? All right, so now, Michelle, in your capacity as the secretary for the zoning hearing board, what are your duties and responsibilities?
I prepared a public notice that was advertised in the Reading Eagle on March 19th and March 26th of 2020.
Do me a favor. I'm at 80 pages at this point. So try and slow down, my hands are wearing out.
Where'd you lose me at?
I prepared a public notice that was,
Advertised in the Reading Eagle
thank you.
on March 19th and March 26th of 2024. It was posted on the subject property on March 12th of 2024 at 9:40 a.m. It was mailed to all adjacent property owners located within at least 300 feet of the subject property on March 11th of 2024 at 10 a.m.
All right, Michelle, do you have copies of those documents with you today?
I do, other than my public notice, because you stole
Okay,
it.
and we'll make sure that the stenographer actually already has that.
Okay.
So these are the documents that you previously marked at the last hearing as board exhibit number 1, I believe, is that
Yes.
correct? All right, so those are marked as board exhibit number 1. I believe you already have copies of all of those documents. If you don't, we can certainly get them to you now. The notices are the notices that were posted on the property and so forth.
Right.
All right, Michelle, if we can just enter those exhibits into evidence, we'll give the stenographer, and she can mark them. Okay, we'll mark them after we're done providing the testimony. Next, I believe you entered another exhibit, I just want to make sure it's clear in the record, which was an email from Ms. Rotenberg dated March 25th, 2024. You have a copy of that with you today?
Yes, it's timestamped 11:57 a.m.
Okay, and you will mark that, I think it was previously marked, but we'll mark it as board exhibit number 2. If you could pass that over to the stenographer, so it should mark that as included here today as well.
Sure, if you want, or you can.
We'll put it in. What we'll do is next, I saw, Michelle, you just were talking quietly to Ms. Rotenberg about the application. We'll mark that application as board exhibit number 4. Is that a copy of the application that was submitted to you from the applicant for this particular hearing today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And I just note for the record, the reason I skipped over board 3, remember board 3 is a copy of the zoning map.
Yep.
Okay, so now I want to just ask you, on the mark board exhibit number 5, which would be the zoning ordinance. What zoning ordinance was in place at the time of this particular application?
The one that was printed January of 2022, sorry.
All right, we're going to mark that as exhibit, we're not going to move that into evidence, take judicial notice of that particular item. All right, is there anything further in your capacity as secretary for the zoning hearing board that you would like to present today?
No.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rotenberg, do you have any questions for Ms. Bear as the secretary for the zoning hearing board or related to those exhibits?
I do not, thank
Do
you.
you have any objections to those exhibits?
No objection.
Okay, those exhibits will be moved into evidence. All right, now, Anderson, you have been previously sworn as well. You are the residential zoning officer for the borough of Wyomissing. Is that not commercial? I'm sorry, commercial zoning officer for the borough of Wyomissing. Is that correct? What are your duties and responsibilities in that capacity?
For this hearing, I have prepared the memo dated March 15th of 2024.
Do you have a copy of that memorandum with you today?
I did.
Okay, we'll mark that as board exhibit number 6. Do you have any other information that is relevant for the board's consideration today relating to this application?
Not at this time.
Ms. Rotenberg, do you have any questions regarding that memorandum?
No, thank you.
Okay, do you have any objection to that being moved as board exhibit number 6?
No objection.
All right, we'll move that as evidence as well. All right, at this time, what we will do is we will entertain the comments from the members of the public that are here in unsworn statements. So, Ms. Walker, we'll let you go first if you would like to make a statement about this particular matter.
Just that again, I do not want to deny Javi and his wife to have an income as far as him cutting hair, if that's what he would prefer to do. I just really am concerned mostly about the continued situation with parking and traffic over in our area, which in turn having the business does hinder that a lot more than I would prefer. I can't speak for anyone else in my area because no one's here. I can only speak for myself.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, do you have any comments that you would like to make? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Jadick, do you have any?
I just wanted to say a few words and probably take this opportunity to put on record that Mrs. Cortez is pregnant. Nobody said that. I see here a couple that came to this country to make a living. And they're obviously from a different culture, and maybe sometimes they don't know the laws or the regulations. And I think that we have to be mindful and understanding and give them the opportunity, because the discussion between seamstress and barber, I could say that at the seamstress, my daughter went and spent there an hour, measuring, and checking clothes. So it's not really just a little bit. So I think we have to be mindful and welcome them to our community, give them all the opportunities. Obviously, they're working hard, and give them all the opportunities. I don't think it's that much of an inconvenience to the neighborhood. They seem to be reasonable people, and I don't think they will ever abuse such a variance. So personally, I want to welcome them and wish them good luck. And I hope that the board will, because another thing I wanted to say, I mean, just looking at that map, I've been witness how this has been carved out to facilitate growth. So I think this is part of it. So again, I hope the board will consider this in a positive way. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, at this point in time, would you like to make a closing statement?
I would, actually,
Okay,
because
please
I wanted to address Ms. Bear's question, and I want to thank you for your comments, and thank you for being supportive of Javi and Sheila. You know, what we're asking for is a pretty modest amount of relief. Respectfully to Ms. Bear, I understand what the thinking was behind the classification of one home business as permissible by right everywhere and another as impermissible, but I don't think it really carries a lot of water. I think the difference between what Javi's doing and what Asicius is doing or what an accountant is doing during tax season is pretty modest. And he has said to you that he is not going to advertise, he's not going to alter his home, he's not going to alter the character of the neighborhood in any way, and I think you can see that from the pictures, that the nature of the building is not going to change. It's still going to be primarily a residence for him and his sons and his child who's on the way and due very soon. But so I think what we're asking for is modest and reversible in the future if the business grows and needs to go into a bigger space, or if they sell the property to another family, it can go back to being a garage without too much trouble. But I think in terms of hardship, which was the question, when we look at this spot, and you can see Michelle has marked it on the map with the red X, and we showed you some exhibits. This is, in this one particular block of Vista Road, you have the noise and the traffic that comes from being in the C1 district of Wyomissing Hills, right on State Hill Road. Their neighbors across the street back up against a very large commercial property in Rite Aid that, as I think you all know, has that large and busy parking lot. The neighbor on the corner, who apparently wants to have a commercial space of his own, abuts Charming Nails, which is a commercial venture. And if you go around the corner, I'm not arguing these things are not zoned properly or that they didn't get relief, but it is simply the fact that there's a fair amount of traffic that's generated in that neighborhood from the houses of worship. So my clients are heavily regulated in terms of what they can do with their property. They are told it has to be a residential use only, and you can't have a certain type of home business without relief from the zoning board. But they don't get a lot of the benefit that comes from that regulation, in the sense that they are still experiencing quite a bit of traffic and access to commercial or exposure to commercial spaces. I think is the only neighbor within that first cluster of homes on Vista Road that doesn't have a property that abuts a large commercial space is our neighbor who's here today. So I would say that there's a case called Valley View that I'm sure you've probably read a million times, Mr. Becker, and probably will read again. That says basically if a property is in an area that's mixed in some sense, and the value of that property is impacted by the mixture of uses that are around it, that can count as a unique hardship and a hardship for that property. So I would say for these particular 6 properties at the top of this, are right in ball throwing distance of State Hill Road and the noise of State Hill Road, as well as the rest of the commercial traffic. That is the hardship that you in order to get the most out of your property, you should have some generous variances. So we are asking for the opportunity for Javi to run his shop. He understands that there's not to be a sign, that there's not to be advertising. He can do this by word of mouth and has been successful building his business by word of mouth. He understands that there are codes and that there may be some alterations to the electricity and other things that need to happen, but the notion of a garage-based home business that has a sort of limited presence, is allowed in much of Wyomissing and is allowed depending on what you do for a living, in this particular neighborhood. So we are asking for, his particular business to be allowed without whatever restrictions or enhancements to the property you think, will enhance the parking situation, which I think from what we heard from our statements is really the main concern. So, you know, he doesn't make any noise, there's no odors, there's no real sign of this happening. It's just a question of, can we clear up enough space on Vista Road or on that property to make parking not a burden for his neighbors. And I would suggest that if you put restrictions in the decision that require them to do that, they can. You can have testimony about it, but they do have a good sized backyard. So I would imagine that if they had to convert a piece of that little front money bit to impervious surface in order to add another car, I don't know, but I would, taking an educated guess, think that they could probably do that without too much trouble. So, with that, I thank you for your consideration, and I don't know if you have any questions.
No, just a reminder, I need to be out of here.
Yes, no, I understand. I didn't want you, I know you have a hard stop at 5 o'clock. We're still good, we're still good.
Is that
All right,
meeting
I
at
believe
5:30?
that then concludes the
Official
hearing.
meeting
I know.
is at
And we will
5:30.
close the testimony.
It is the conclusion of the testimony, and at this point, we are going to recess to determine if we can come to a conclusion today, and if not, announce a time when it will be made.
That's correct. We have 45 days in which to do that, and we will try to, if we can't come within the next 5 minutes, which I think is unlikely that we'll be able to get that resolved in that period of time.
Do you need Michelle for the decision?
I need to lock the building when you
Yeah,
all
she's
leave.
Oh, I see. I'm
And
sorry.
so
I'm the only employee left here.
Oh, no.
So we will try to find a date certain and let you know when we will resume and render our oral decision, which will be followed by a written decision.
I also need to schedule another hearing date with you guys, so maybe we could piggyback both.
Okay, that's great.
Maybe.
All right, with that, we'll be in recess.
Right, we ask you all to step out while we deliberate.
Thank you.
Will we need an interpreter for the written decision?
Well,
Sorry.
okay.
All right, we'll call the meeting of the Wyomissing Zoning Hearing Board back to order. We do not have the time to properly deliberate, present a decision today. We will reconvene on Monday, May 6th at 2 o'clock. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct, here at Borough Hall.
Here at Borough Hall, and we will render a decision at that time.
I have a hearing in the clerk hall, please. It should take about 5 minutes.
We're gonna be deliberating probably, for,
Half an
you
hour.
know, a half hour, 45 minutes,
You should
something
be
like
able to
that.
be there by.
So you should be here, you know, you think you can be here by 2:30 or?
I think so. I literally got to hand a piece of paper to Judge Shea and then I can.
Yeah, you should be here in plenty of time.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Judge,
Shea, S-C-H.
Yes.
I-P-E.
Yes.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll stand in adjournment until May 6th.
Recess.
Thank you.
May 6th.
Recess.
Yep.
Bob, I'm emailing you right now.